This project is called the Watercolor Lighthouse, and it is a good way to combine a lot of your different techniques that you have learned up to this point. We start by taping down our picture. This is a masking project, meaning that we are going to make sure that the areas that we do not want to have watercolor on will be covered with masking tape. You can also use masking fluid for this. In this case, we want to trim up the edges, and this is going to represent our lighthouse here. Now, we want to make sure that we wet down all of our watercolors before we get started. Make sure that they get softened. Let them set for a few minutes before you actually get started. We're going to do a graded wash using the various colors that we have here. Starting with blue, we're going to dip from blue into purple. Notice that I do not rinse out my brush. From purple, we're going to go to red, and we are going to paint directly over top of our lighthouse. From red, we go to orange, and finally, we are going to go to yellow as our last. Now, I did rinse out my brush a little bit for the yellow because I didn't want it to be too dark. After this, make sure you let it dry for a few minutes so that whenever you pull off your tape, you're not allowing that water to go everywhere. So about 10 minutes is a good length of time. You'll notice that my tape doesn't want to stick on an area that is still slightly damp, but we can make it work. Now I'm going to work on the bottom of my picture. This is just going to be the water. In this case, I'm mixing blue and green, and I'm doing a graded wash, meaning I'm going from dark to light, going from bottom to top. So what I'm doing is going straight with the blue-green mixture at the bottom and then just adding water to it as I come up, all the way to the tape line again. And I go ahead and untape everything at this point. We want to allow this, again, to dry a little bit so it makes it easier for us to actually do the process. This area, we are going to start with a line of blue, and we are going to do something called bleeding. We want to have the blue paint on there, but we want to make it dissipate by adding a little bit of water to what we originally have. I'm also going to mix a little bit of purple and blue and green together and create rocks in my water. This is going to be what the lighthouse rests on, and it's okay if the water is still a little bit wet. In between these rocks, I'm adding a little bit of brown mixture to this because we want a variety of rocks. And I'm also going to add some black to this. The process is very simple. You've got to just make sure that your rocks are horizontal when you paint them. I am painting the windows. They're just very small slits. And I'm going to paint a line across the top. You'll notice that I let that bleed a little bit. Again, my watercolor didn't get completely dry, so I have to take a tissue and take the excess off, but I don't mind that little shadow being there. It does look more like a shadow. Now I have a line with 3 other lines and create a dome for the top of my lighthouse. Now I'm creating a comb-like shape to make for a little walkway. Finally, I am creating some trees that will be on our little island here. Again, it is a mixture of the purple and green that creates a really nice design for this, for the trunks. And I'm using straight green for the palm trees. I'm also going to use straight green when making the grass and any accents on the picture. And I'm also going to create a small pine tree in this picture, just to add a little bit of variety. And hopefully we can add a few birds in the sky. Make sure you don't add any more than 2 birds, otherwise it'll be overwhelming. And there is our final product.